Unit 4, Risk and Return, Lecture 9, Portfolio Performance Measurement, Part B. You can have fixed income indices. They tend to be classified by type of issuer, government agencies, companies, the type of financing, whether it's a general obligation bond or it's collateralized, in other words, there's another asset backing it, currency of payments, maturity, credit quality, absence or presence of inflation protection. We're going to move now on to looking at how the returns on security market indices are calculated. You have two measures. There's the price return measure, and this focuses only on price or capital appreciation. So it looks at the percentage change in the price of the index. The total return measure, on the other hand, combines both price appreciation with any income that was received. So for example, any interest on fixed income securities, any dividend payments that were made, or any other distribution that can be classified as an income. When we look at a price return, it can be calculated in one of two ways. Either you can look at the percentage changed in the value of the price return index, in that case you will look at the price of the index at the end less the price of the index at the start, and you would divide it by the price of the index at the start. Or alternatively, you could look at a weighted average of the price returns of each of the component securities that make up the index. So here we're going to look at calculating the price return of the index by looking at the value of the price return index at the end of a particular period less the price at the start over the price at the start. Sort of a version of the whole period return. Now over the next few slides we look at how we calculate the price return of an index by calculating the weighted average of the price return on the individual components of that index. So this slide we're looking at how the price return of a component security or constituent security in the index will be calculated, and that will be the change in the price starting with the price at the end of the period less the price at the start divided by the price at the start. So looking at the information we calculated in the previous slide, which is the price return for an individual component security in the index, we're now going to take all these price returns and we're going to weight them, and we're going to add them all up to get the price return for the entire index. As mentioned previously, when we look at the total return of an index, it includes both price return plus the income return. So if we look at our formula, we're looking here at the value of the price index at the end, less the value of the price index at the start of the period, plus any income that was received over the period divided by the value of the price index at the beginning of the period or the start. And again, as we did for the price return index, we can do it on an individual security basis. So we can calculate the total return per security in the index by taking the price of the security at the end of the period less the price of the security at the start of the period plus any income that security generated divided by the price of the security at the start of the period. And again, using the information from the previous slide along with the weight for that particular security in the index, we can add all of the component securities in the index to get the total return. So here we're trying to calculate the value of an index over multiple time periods. So essentially, if we know what the value of the price index is today, and we would like to know what the value of the price index is in, say, 5 years' time, as long as we have the price return for that index over the next 5 years, we would essentially just compound the value of the price index today for 5 years to get the value in 5 years' time, and that's essentially a future value calculation. And this is an example that actually demonstrates the concept that we were talking about in the previous slide, where we have the index today and we have the returns over the next 2 years, and we essentially just compound the index by these returns to get the future value. As we did for the price return index, we can do the same for the total return index. By that I mean if we want to know the value of the total return index in, say, 5 years' time, as long as we know what the value of the index is today and the total returns over the next 5 years, we can compound today's value by the returns over the next 5 years to get the total return index value in 5 years. And again, it's a future value calculation. And this is an example of how we would calculate the value of the total return index